So today's program is really one that has been set up and designed for you to provide you with some strategies around great performance and work practices, recognising you're at the beginning of your careers and that putting in place some strategies now that will help you throughout, when we look at your careers through the lens of longevity, how can we get some great strategies in place for you now to set yourselves up for high performance, high achieving for the next, however many years it might be. You can see that for all the things in life that concern you, that'll be a big arrow, no matter what they are, there are going to be aspects of those concerns that you can control, and there are aspects that you can't control. And it's subtle sometimes, but there's generally aspects that fall into each of those buckets. Now, the aspects of some of the situations that we discuss that we have direct control and influence over, that's our circle of influence. The things that validly concern us about things in life, but we have no capacity to control, that's our circle of concern. Right. So, what does all this mean? If we assume that you guys have limited time and energy and resources, are you better to be investing them into the things you can control or the things you can't? Obvious, right? Okay, so here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Where you choose to invest your time and energy into the aspects of things that are worrying you that you can control and influence, that circle of influence grows. And we see people being proactive, independent, and empowered. If, however, you spend all of your limited resources of time and energy on the things that validly concern you, i.e., will my best girlfriend find more friends and I'm going to be ditched, but if I spend all my time and energy here, my circle of influence shrinks because it's a limited resource. And so that's where we see people being reactive, disempowered. We see a lot of blame, learned helplessness in this situation. When we start to recognise those early warning signs, do we not think, I'm just going to power through this. I'm just going to apply myself a bit more and then I'll be good. I will just work through this and ignore it. So that really, for the most of us, and especially for really high achieving, high perfectionistic, high control cluster people, this is about where one prioritises oneself. Not so smart, because you can see performance isn't so great. So really the new science of looking after stress and its role in well-being is around getting good at recognising here. What are my early warning signs? And when I notice them, what can I do to control which zone I'm in so that I'm using the stress to be helpful? So I want to talk to you a little bit about your thinking, particularly when you're under pressure. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about common unhelpful thinking styles. Now, there might be a couple of you, for all of you, you'll find a couple of these that are your really good friends when you get really stressed. So let's talk about it a little. It's very, very normal. For some of you, when you get stressed, you'll adopt a very black and white thinking style. If it's not 100% right, then it's wrong. There's nothing in the middle. You might set unrealistic expectations. So this is where your thinking is driven by should. I should be able to top College of Law, I should be the highest performing graduate, and I should be able to compete in my ultra sporting event and top the state. They're all the shoulds. Again, sometimes not so helpful. We might look on the dark side, so that's like you were saying, Nicole, you jump to the negative, overgeneralize about things. We make mountains out of molehills. So things that, and it's similar to catastrophizing. We lose perspective on things. We think it's the biggest issue in the world if we haven't been invited in to work on a matter, for instance. Or we catastrophize. This is my personal favourite, where previously in my career when I've made a mistake, that's it, my career's over, you know, it's done and dusted. It's not, but we tend to catastrophize things. Or sometimes we personalize things. So if something goes wrong, if an event or a team project that you're working on isn't so successful, we blame ourselves entirely. Or we also blame others. Where we get stressed, we might think, if everyone else would just do their job around here, then we'd all be all right. You know, that sort of thing where we look to lay blame on other people. We might mistake feelings for facts. So we might feel hopeless and helpless and interpret that we are hopeless and helpless, even though the feeling is very separate to the facts. We jump to negative conclusions. So I think it's super helpful to normalise the fact that we all struggle with unhelpful thinking styles, especially when we get more stressed. And you probably had some really good techniques. I heard some around the room around how to deal with them. Just a couple that are really common. Some people do thought stopping. So getting good at recognising some of those thoughts and just getting good at, okay, that's enough. I'm not entering into that. Or distraction techniques. So some people say, when I find myself thinking, I'm never going to get through all this, okay, I go away from that task, I go and do something that is administrative or transactional or easy in nature, and then I feel better about it and I can come back to it. So that can work, you know, that sort of thing works quite well. Challenging our negative self-talk is always a good one. So do I deserve to be here? Well, of course you do. You all earned your spot here. So yes, you do. So that negative self, when we challenge our negative self-talk, that can be super helpful too. And taking perspective, whether that's around talking to other people or just asking yourself, you know, is someone going to die? Or the really common one is, this is the worst thing that could have happened. Is it? Is there truly nothing else that could be worse than this? Well, of course there is. You know, so I think sometimes about helping to, you know, get a healthier perspective can be super important, whether yourself or talking with other people. In fact, I did the summer intern cross-firm event this year at the library, at the art gallery. And interestingly, one of the panel specialists, his biggest piece of advice to grads was keep friends who are outside of law, because they help you keep a healthy perspective on some things that it's very easy to enclose yourself in people with similar experiences and perspectives, which can be very helpful, but it also means sometimes you don't get a broader perspective on just life. So I thought that was a really interesting piece for his one piece of advice to be. So I hope that session has been helpful for you. We've covered off a couple of things. So we started off with that circle of concern and influence, I guess a visual and a distinctive way for you to consider, how am I choosing to invest my time and my energy? And do I have control over that? Well, oftentimes you do. And in getting better at that, can I build my resilience? Can I be more empowered in the places where I find myself in life? Secondly, we moved on to talk a little bit about those early warning signs when stress shifts from being helpful to harmful. What are they like for you? Can you get better at controlling for them early instead of right down the end of the curve in a more reactive sense? And then understanding some of those early warning signs for you. What's it like for you? And can I get more sensitive to those so that I can control for them better? And one of the most powerful early warning signs for most of us is when our thinking shifts. And our thinking typically becomes more unhelpful and louder. So understanding that that's very normal, but also understanding that it oftentimes doesn't drive helpful behaviour. So giving you some tools and techniques to maybe, again, get better control over your thinking style. So I'm hoping that the session's been helpful for you. It's been really lovely to work with you. Please feel free to grab some more food on your way out. And if everyone has signed the sign-on sheet, I will let you get on with your busy days. We're about on the hour, so thanks so much for coming along to this session. Please come and talk to me separately if you wanted to discuss anything more privately. Thank you so much.